My name is Sammie, and I am a relationship expert and a relationship and dating coach for singles. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. The purpose of this channel is basically for me to watch some of the most popular rom-coms that are out right now and to break down the relationship dynamics of all of the characters. So my hope is that when you watch this as the viewer, you can start to take a critical eye towards some of your own relationship dynamics and to break those down and start creating newer, healthier relationships. Just a disclaimer, I do not own any of the material that I'm going to be covering. This channel is for educational purposes only. My intention is not to ruin rom-coms for you. I would love you to still enjoy watching rom-coms, but to understand that they are specifically just for entertainment value and that they don't necessarily mirror real life and what healthy relationships look like. I appreciate all of your support. So if you found this video to be super helpful, it would be great if you could share it with a friend or a loved one who you think might benefit from watching my channel as well. Also, if you could hit the thumbs up button down below. Also hit the subscribe and the little bell just to make sure that you get notified for any videos that I put out. All right, so let's get to it. For today's video, I wanted to cover kind of a heavy hitter in the rom-com realm. This one is starring, I think, the rom-com queen of the 2000s, Jennifer Lopez, and her partner in this movie is played by Matthew McConaughey, and that is the Wedding Planner. Yay! Awesome. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so I wanted to start out by doing a quick synopsis for those of you who don't really have an interest in watching this movie, or that you watched it a really long time ago and just need a quick refresher of the main points, just so you kind of have an idea of what I'm going to be talking about when I break down the dynamics. Cool. Okay. So this movie begins with Jennifer Lopez's character. We learn about her that she is the wedding planner. She is highly organized. She is the person who saves the day in all weddings. She is the girl that you want organizing your wedding so that you know that it's going to go super smooth. So that sets us up for the eventual, which is that she tries to take on this huge wedding for a $1 million heiress. I think that the woman that she's trying to book as a client, she sold hot dogs online or something like that. I think I heard that right. So anyways, she's trying to book this client who I'm just going to call her a hot dog heiress. Her name's Fran. Jennifer Lopez's character, at some point after she books this client, she's walking, her Gucci heel gets stuck in a sewer, and a taxi cab hits a garbage can, or not garbage can, a dumpster, full dumpster. This is in the streets of San Francisco, so this dumpster goes full downhill. It's gaining momentum and almost crushes Jennifer Lopez, who cannot give up her Gucci heel. But thankfully, Matthew McConaughey's character, who is Eddie, at this point he is known as Steve, which is his real name. Eddie jumps in to save the day. He saves Mary, who is Jennifer Lopez's character. I should have said that in the beginning. But he saves the day, saves her, rescues her from getting crushed by a dumpster. And I can't remember if he saves the heel as well, but I guess that doesn't matter. I guess that's, water under the bridge. They end up going on kind of a date at one point. after he's rescued Mary, and they do this really romantic date in the park. You find this really cute line that gets called back to where he's eating peanut M&Ms and he's pulling out all of the colored ones and throwing them away and only eating the brown ones because to him, the brown ones have less artificial coloring because chocolate's already brown. What Eddie fails to remember is that M&Ms are candy coated, so the brown ones are not chocolate on the outside, they're actually colored brown. So no, Steve, that logic is a fallacy, and all of the M&Ms have equal artificial coloring, I'm pretty sure. So is he a great doctor? We don't know. By the way, he is a children's doctor, so there's that. He is a Prince Charming. So they have a dance, nothing happens. I think they both kind of leave it there. Mary comes to work the next day. She is in love. This is the man that she has been waiting for her whole life. Like, Mary has been fantasizing about getting married since she was a little girl. And that's probably what made her a wedding planner. Anyways, we meet Fran at a tango instructor course thing. Class? Yeah, class. We meet Fran outside of that, and then we meet her fiance, who, surprise, surprise, is Eddie, the guy that Mary just went on a date with the night before. Great job, Eddie. Why would you go on a date with a woman that you just met, and also you're engaged, like full blown getting engaged? It's nuts. So they meet up. They have a tense moment where Fran just goes, hey, yeah, no, Mary's gonna dance with you at this thing because I have a business call. So they have a very tense exchange. Mary's upset, of course, that he went on a date with her, and he's been engaged this whole time. He doesn't really have a leg to stand on, and from there on, she stays on this case as their wedding planner, and while she's in the process of planning this wedding, they continue to get into these moments where they continue to get close. There's a moment where Steve rescues her on horseback, where she is on a rogue horse that takes off that's upset, rescues her. Nobody seems to notice that there's some, electricity forming between the two of them, until finally they decide, we can't do this anymore. We're going to keep this a professional relationship, which this boundary probably should have been set at the beginning. But anyways, continue on. We learn that Mary was engaged at one point and was ditched at the altar by her fiance and his high school girlfriend. So she's, relatively jaded for good reason. So by the end of the movie, we're at the wedding. Mary is, side note, her father has set up a arranged marriage with a man from Italy, and she decides to marry him if, Eddie's going to be getting married to Fran. So there's going to be a double wedding that day. Mid-ceremony, Mary takes off. She goes, you know what, I'm good. I don't need this. Hands the reins off to her coworker and probably her best friend that we see in this movie. Hands the reins off to her, and then we see Eddie pull Fran aside, basically tell her, do you really want to get married? He waited until the wedding day to second guess this decision when everybody's already there. They're about to walk down the aisle. He decides that is the moment to question the wedding, and Fran agrees, and they decide that they are not a good match for each other, that they don't want to do this, they don't want to get married, and he sends her off in a cab to go to their honeymoon. And Eddie is absolutely in love with Mary. He's decided this is the girl that he's supposed to be with, so he learns from the coworker that she's set to get married at the courthouse. He races off to the courthouse in a cab. And meanwhile, Mary, you know, they're giving you this intense moment of, is Mary going to get married? Is he going to be too late? But yeah, Mary doesn't marry Massimo, the Italian arranged marriage man. And they end up meeting, her and Eddie, at the park where they had their very first date. And Eddie finds her picking through a pack of peanut M&Ms, and he asks her what she's doing, and she says, someone once told me that, you know, the brown ones are already chocolate and that they don't have as much artificial coloring. So very cute. Then they kiss at the end. The end doesn't end in a wedding, which I'm okay with, but yeah, we end in a very cute kiss, and you know, everybody seems to be happy with this result. No hard feelings. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the relationship dynamics between all of the characters. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into Mary's family relationships. So basically, the only family member that we meet in this movie is Mary's dad. Her mother has passed away. We learn that her father and mother were in an arranged marriage, so that's just some background about them. And for the most part, I would say that they do have a really healthy relationship dynamic. I think in the beginning, it feels really unhealthy because you have Mary's father really pushing for her to get married, and he's really not listening to what she actually wants. And when she tells him she's really not interested in an arranged marriage and that's not what she envisions, it takes him all up until the very final moment before she's getting married for him to step in and say, you know what, this isn't right. This isn't what you want. I don't want you to do this for me. And he gives her her blessing to, you know, end the marriage, or not end the marriage, but end the wedding and not marry the man that he's picked out for her. But yeah, so I think that they have a very loving relationship. He lives in a senior care facility, and Mary comes and visits him pretty often and takes really good care of him. They play Scrabble together. So I think that this is an actual healthy dynamic, or it becomes a healthy dynamic by the end, where he recognizes where he's not listening to her. And I think that she's able to speak her mind with him and feel very comfortable telling him how she feels. And I think she leans on him a lot for support as well. So yes, healthy relationship. I think on my toxicity scale, with 10 being super toxic and 1 being not toxic at all, I'm gonna probably place them at a 3. Because yeah, there were moments where he wasn't listening and he wasn't really understanding her. So I'm gonna say it's not an altogether untoxic relationship, but I'm gonna just put it at a 3 because it's not really super toxic to me. Okay, so now let's go into Mary's platonic relationship, which is with her coworker, who seems to also be Mary's best friend. I cannot remember her name. Does she have a name in this movie? Please let me know in the comments. Maybe I just absolutely spaced and didn't hear it. But yeah, so the best friend character who she works with, I mean, this isn't an entirely toxic friendship. I mean, we don't really get to see a whole lot of the relationship, so it's hard to comment on it. But from what we do see, she seems to be really supportive. She seems to really have Mary's best interests when she looks out for her. She's also extremely boy crazy, so we see her stepping in to kind of play matchmaker a lot of times, which Mary isn't altogether, you know, always happy with, but also I think it's just kind of one of the things that they do. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to comment on this relationship, but I will say, like, yeah, on a toxic scale, I don't know, it's probably a 2, 3. Maybe I'll place it at like a 3 just because I think this friend kind of has some choice words for Mary at the end when, I don't know, maybe it's not, yeah, no, never mind. I'm gonna place this at a 3 on my toxic scale, just simply because I think that her friend pushes her into some of these romantic hijinks and doesn't really stop to ask Mary what she wants. And I think in a good friendship, before you try to push someone into doing something, I think maybe checking in and knowing what their boundaries are is always a good idea. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into Eddie's platonic relationships. Eddie has one best friend that we see. I think we only see him twice, so again, there's not a ton of information to go off of, but one of the scenes is super telling to me. They're meeting out on a golf course. Eddie's talking about, you know, not being sure which one he should choose. He has feelings for Mary. He also, you know, is engaged to Fran. He doesn't know if he's just experiencing wedding jitters or what's going on. So the best friend, this is something that I think we see a lot in, I want to say like maybe 90s, early 2000s, maybe throughout the whole 2000s. In a lot of these male best friend characters is you see this kind of like locker room talk kind of approach to relationships where it's very dismissive. It's not really trying to figure out what the best friend wants. It's just more so like kind of being dismissive of feelings and being like, well, you should marry Fran because if she ain't it, it's not out there. And by the way, give me the phone number of that Mary chick. She sounds super hot. And to me, it just sounds like a very like, let's just tie a neat bow on it, be done with it. I don't want to talk about feelings. Let's get back to the game. And, you know, let me f the girl that, oh, let me have sex with the girl. Let me have sex with the girl that, you know, sounds super hot, but isn't the one that you're going to marry. I don't know. So I think toxic scale to me, that feels like at least an 8, if not higher, just because it doesn't feel like a supportive friend. It just feels like someone who's not looking out for your best interest, who kind of wants to capitalize off of, you know, his feelings and try to get some hot chick just passed off onto him, or, you know, whatever his reasoning is. I don't like it. It feels very misogynistic. So yeah, I'm gonna at least place him at an 8, if not higher, maybe a 9. I mean, he's not being abusive, but again, I think that this kind of, I don't know, it's dismissive. It's really just, yeah, throwing away feelings and not really giving that friend that time to lean on you for support. So yeah, he's just not a good friend. Sorry. Okay, so let's get into Mary's rival relationship, which is Massimo. Massimo is, you know, he just immigrated to the country. I think in the beginning, he came off a little more misogynistic. His wording isn't always really PC with her, which I think is really off-putting in the beginning. Rightfully so. In the beginning, when he first meets her, the dad, or Mary's dad, says, I found someone willing to marry you, which makes her sound like she's trash. And Massimo even like repeats that same sentiment and says, I'm willing to marry you. Like he's bringing himself down a level and he's taking pity on her to marry her. But I think as the movie goes on, you start to see that there is this genuine care that Massimo has for Mary. We learn that they were kids when they first met. She would go back to Italy in the summers when she was a child because both of her parents are from Italy originally. They're immigrants. So we see that they are friends, childhood friends, that maybe didn't get along all that well. I think she thought he was really gross. He used to eat mud. I think she did something equally embarrassing that he remembers her by. I just blanked. But I think we really see a softness to that relationship when Mary's talking to him, and this is the moment that she decides that she's going to accept his proposal. Is he's talking about her mom and these little things that he remembers about her. And I think that really hits a soft spot with Mary because, of course, like, her mom is no longer here. So I think there's this little bit of some, like, understanding there, or that, you know, actually he does care about me if he's able to remember these details about someone that I hold so dear. And, okay, so at the end, when Mary and everybody decides that, you know, Massimo's not the one, he's actually pretty cool about it. And you know, he seems to have genuine feelings for her and truly want to be with her. And that he knows that she has feelings for someone else, and he's supportive of that, so much so that he actually drives Eddie to where Mary is on his moped. And, you know, I think he volunteers to do that. So I think there's just a lot of love, care, and support from him. So if, you know, for some reason, if things didn't work out with Eddie, I do think that that marriage and that match between Massimo and Mary would have really, really worked. So I think that he would have been a really healthy partner for her. So toxicity scale. Oh, this is tough. So I think I'm probably going to put him, oh, gosh, he has so much growth through it. So I think initially he was probably closer to like a 6. He was kind of this like Gaston-like character. But I think by the end, I think he ends up somewhere around like a 2. So I'm really a proponent for healthy growth, and I think that was change that he initiated, and he wanted to show he cared, and I think the beginning was just a really bad, awkward first impression. So Massimo, I'm going to give you a 2 on the toxicity scale. You are super healthy as a partner. Yay! Okay, so one of the last ones I'll cover is the relationship between Eddie and Fran. So Fran is Eddie's fiance, and this is kind of the main conflict in the movie is, should he be with Fran or should he be with Mary? And, you know, he's already engaged to Fran, and so this kind of creates like a, you know, ultra awkward dynamic, I'm sure, for him. But yeah, let's get into their dynamic together, just the two of them. Fran and Eddie met sometime in college. Fran, when he talks about her as being really vibrant and just, yeah, I think she's just a woman who really kind of takes charge of a situation. And that's probably something that's very attractive to him. We see her making a lot of the decisions. Every time that Mary comes to them asking about a major decision for the wedding, whether it be a design or location, Fran seems to be the one who steps in, you know, answers for the both of them without really looking for feedback from Eddie. It's like she reaches for it, but she really wants him to lean to her side. And for the most part, I would say Eddie doesn't really fight her on anything. The one time we see him try to stand up for something that he wants that's different than her is the moment that they're looking at a location. She really wants to have it at this park in front of this beautiful fountain, and Eddie's like, yeah, let's just look at what other options we have. And then they have to sit and have the conversation about it. And I think he caves because when we get to the final moment in the movie at their wedding, we see that they're having it at the park. So she won that debate. But all of the interactions between them, I don't know. I mean, we don't really see them interact in like a coupley way. I mean, they're not super affectionate towards each other. I think the most affection we see from her is the moments that they're trying to pick out their wedding song in the car. She gets very cutesy with him. But other than that, I think it feels a little bit more like a business partnership, which is not necessarily a bad thing in a marriage. It's not a bad attitude to have, in my opinion. But I think that there's just no compromise. And I think that's the big issue between the two, is that, I mean, Eddie can't tell her or communicate really like what's going on with him. He's having a full-blown emotional affair with another woman who's right under her nose, and she doesn't even like think of it. I mean, she seems like such a secure person that, I mean, there's the moment when when Eddie saves Mary on the horse. He's got Mary in a pretty provocative pose, like sitting on him on the horse, and she's like, she seems like such a secure person that that's not where her mind goes. She immediately is like, Mary, are you okay? Like, her heart is definitely in the right place. And I think that she is so secure with herself and this relationship that she just doesn't believe that he would ever stray. Which is, you know, I think that's a healthy mentality to have. But also, I think she's just so, I don't know, blinded in a way that she doesn't even see the connection between Eddie and Mary happening. Like, it's actually blossoming right under her nose. She's around them for pretty much the entirety of where their relationship is building from, and she's constantly trying to push them together to work on things, which of course, like, that's a professional that you're working with and you shouldn't have to worry about those things. But still, like, I think being around them together, I think we as the audience can see the chemistry between the two. I think if, you know, I think if she was a little bit more emotionally engaged with Eddie, she would notice that there was potentially an issue and could create a safe space to have that conversation of like, hey, am I, you know, reading this, or what's going on? Like, I'm noticing something between you two. Can we have a conversation? But yeah, that just never happens, which is, you know, it's okay. No judgment. But I mean, I think on Eddie's side, he's just not the healthy partner to Fran, that he can't be honest with her of what he's doing. The fact that he decides it's okay to go on a date with another woman, even if nothing's going to happen, I think it's, you know, without communicating to your partner what is going on, I think that in itself creates malicious intent behind it, that you are not concerned about her feelings. So I think in that regard, I think Eddie is actually the toxic partner in this relationship. And I think, yeah, they're just not a good pairing where they aren't able to facilitate healthy conversations for each other or tell the other person how they feel. So I think within this relationship dynamic together, the toxicity scale, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty high. I don't think they would have worked out long term. I think that Eddie would continue to try to have these illicit emotional affairs to feel something because their relationship is so sterile in a sense. So I'm going to probably place them at an 8 because I don't think that, I mean, he doesn't physically cheat, but I think emotional cheating is just as bad. So I think that, yeah, I'm going to put them at an 8 on the toxicity scale for each other. Okay, so now we are on our big relationship, the one that we have the most information on is our main couple, Mary and Eddie. Okay, so kind of going along the lines of the relationship with Eddie and Fran, they start this relationship off with a lie, which is never a good thing. Do not start relationships off lying to anyone. Just don't lie. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't even help you. So just don't do it. But Eddie, he just seems kind of like a compulsive liar in his romantic relationships because He lies to Mary in the beginning. He gives her a different name, which is his real name. So it's like, he just does these half-truths, which I don't like. And maybe that's just like a me thing, but I don't know. I don't, half-truths are lies, sorry. So with Mary, the difference in this relationship, it feels like Eddie has more of a voice to, voice his opinions to Mary. She listens. I think that they have a very intense connection because she's so fiery. He gets equally fiery back, which to me, honestly, that feels like what they call a codependency cycle. It's positive and negative polarization. So they're giving each other these positive, feel good feelings where it's the positive signals like come get me, and then these negative signals right back, which creates a roller coaster, which is these highs and lows. So you get these really high highs where you're like, yeah, this is magical. These intense moments of like him rescuing her. They get all these like feel good endorphins, and then they have to like push away really quickly. So they're like pulling and then they're pushing, which sends the brain on this like huge chemical roller coaster, which is not healthy because that's not sustainable. I think that Eddie has a bit of a hero's complex. I think that Mary falls in love with these like fantasies. I mean, she creates these beautiful weddings out of these fantasies in her head. And I mean, it has to bleed into her romantic relationships in some way. That like, oh, Eddie or Steve, he's this children's doctor and we had this big romantic date and it was all these things. I think the most mature moment is at the end when she's actually going to marry Massimo and her father pulls her aside and asks her if she wants to do this, and she tells him, I know that love isn't these fairy tales. It's love are these like smart decisions that you make, and it doesn't need to be like the frou-frou magic moments. Love is, a little more in the little things. And she tells him, I'm a grown-up now. I don't believe in those fairy tales. Which, yeah, you do, because you full on switch gears and go after the fairy tale, which, to be honest, I don't think that these two are going to work. I think that they both are really addicted to intensity if this is the partner that they choose out of both of these stable choices that they had. It's okay to seek out passion, but I think that, they needed to do this in a healthier way, especially Eddie. I think Mary actually tackled this pretty well. So she seems pretty healthy, and yeah, by leading lady standards, I think she does a pretty good job of being a healthy partner for the most part. She's pretty communicative of her needs, her wants. She tells him, she's the one that tells him we cannot do this. I think he pursues it a little more heavily. So on this toxicity scale between the two of them, I mean, yeah, it has to be at least an 8. It has to mirror what he has with Fran. He's lying. He's basically a cheater. I think at one point he's going in to kiss her. So when he's still going to marry Fran, there's been no initiation that he wants to leave that relationship. So I think on this toxicity scale, I think that, I think it has to be at least an 8, because I don't think that they are experiencing love for each other. I think it's more so that there is this like lust and there is this intensity that they're both chasing after, because I'm sure that's what they've learned what true love is. I mean, that's what the media is projected onto people, is these intense connections that you can't walk away from, but really that's just an addiction. So yes, anyways, they're an 8. Sorry. If you disagree with me, please, you know, if you disagree on any of these, please comment below. And I'd be happy to have some discussions with you guys about these different dynamics. I mean, what would you place them on these toxicity scales of your own? Yeah, I'm just doing some rough guesstimates. And again, I don't want to ruin these movies for you guys. I'm trying to come at them very non-judgmental of the characters. You know, enjoy these for what they are. They are fun. They're drama-filled. But just remember, real love is not possession. Real love is communication. It's little moments. It's stability. It's being able to feel at home with someone. It's not necessarily these deep, intense, passionate moments of riding on these chemical waves, as they say. As always, make smart choices, tell the truth, don't lie to the people you love, and hold them close, take care of them, and yeah, make good decisions. All right, I will see you guys soon. Hopefully my video schedule will be Wednesdays. New videos will be posted, but as always, like if you found this video to be helpful, share it with someone who you love and care about and want to see in healthy relationships, and subscribe. Hit that little bell so that you can always be notified of when I post new videos. Awesome. All right, take care.